Have you noticed this holiday season isn't like holiday seasons from years past? We're seeing lights going up sooner, music playing sooner. It was even before Halloween that we saw Christmas and the ensuing holidays. The Southern California housing market is also different this year than it typically is this time of year. We are going to dive into the Southern California Housing Market Report. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping buyers and sellers make the best data-driven decisions during these crazy days. So if you're ready to dive into the single family and multifamily numbers, plus Altos Research Reports, hit that like button. And let's get started. Let's take a look at the Altos research data. We're going to start with the national data. When you're reading articles in the news, most often they're talking about national data. We're going to see some similarities and differences in when we look at the county data. And then, of course, when you look at your local city data. And remember, you can subscribe for any of those reports, any city or zip code. So looking at the market action index, you can see that it's a seller's advantage still in the market based on the amount of inventory. There is something unique in the inventory in the news. You've been hearing in some articles that inventory is up year over year. Now, according to Altos research data, the number of listings right now is down slightly year over year. But you can see as compared to 2021 and 2020 at this time, we have more inventory. Now, those are atypical markets. And then historically, inventory was much higher at this time of year. Where it gets interesting is the fact that the inventory typically at this time, and you see in these dots, and there would be a dot here as well, typically inventory is decreasing at this time of year because there's a lot of other things to be doing this time of year. We're going into the holidays and fewer people are putting their homes on the market. Homes are coming off the market as well. But what's interesting to see, we're not seeing that in the data now. We're actually seeing an increase in the number of homes that are being listed. Another thing to look at are properties with a price decrease. This is the percentage of properties right now that have a decrease. And why would you decrease the price? Well, you come to the market, you don't get offers, or you get offers that are much lower, so you drop your price if you realistically want to sell your property. So we can see here that almost 40% of properties right now on a rolling 7-day average have a price drop. Now, this is not a record. Last year was the record when interest rates went up dramatically. But you can see that this is number 2 based on these years. At a national level, we are at a high number of properties that are decreasing their prices right now. So this is another trend to watch. Another important point, like we saw with inventory, is we should see a shift in the number of properties that are decreasing their price. We can see for other years in the past, it was going down at this point in time or peaked like last year. At this point in time, it doesn't look like it has peaked. We will have to keep watching to see what happens. We may set a new record for price decreases. And one last thing to look at is new versus absorbed. Based on the different price segments across the nation, we can see that we're still at a point where more properties are being absorbed and are coming to the market. But that's not always the case. And we've seen in certain counties in Southern California where the new is higher than the number of absorbed. In fact, I'm going to show you that today. There is a county where that's happening again. Diving into the statewide data for California, we can see that it is a stronger seller's market here when we look at the market action index versus what we saw at the national level, where it was a slight seller's market. Inventory is also, again, it's at a low. Don't get me wrong. When you look to years past, we had much more inventory, but it does appear to be either leveling off or still increasing, whereas every other year at this point in time, we were on the backside of a hill for inventory. It should be going down, even looking at last year. So that's a different trend that we're seeing this year. Properties with a price decrease. We can see that 2023 at this point in time almost matches 2018 for the number of properties that have a price decrease right now. Last year, again, that's the record. You're going to see that across the board. But it's also a case where we're maybe at the peak, or maybe it'll continue to go up, whereas in other years it was going down or peaking and starting to go down. All right, taking a look at the data we've pulled from the MLS, we can see here what's going on with the market, comparing new listings, number of properties under contract, number of properties sold, going all the way back to 2018. 2018, 2019, more normal markets. 2020 through 2022, not normal. 2023, definitely not normal either. Look at back in 2021 where you have the number of new listings below pending opening sales. Remember those days of the twist? If you've been watching me long enough, you remember when I was talking about the twist where demand was exceeding supply significantly. And what I want you to concentrate on when you're going through these local county updates, take a look at what's happening for the number of properties going under contract, comparing year over year, and then number of new listings as well. So you can see here in Orange County that year over year, there's a slight drop in the number of properties going under contract. Some of the other counties, we actually see an increase. When we did our October follow-up update, we saw most of the counties in Southern California, year over year, there was more demand. It is an interesting time with interest rates where they are, seeing how they're going to affect demand, if they're going to completely snuff it out. I feel like we've hit a bottom to demand, and you can see that when you look at these numbers as well. It feels like there's a lower limit to the number of properties going under contract. New listings. Now, we're going to see in the Altos Research data that inventory is increasing, but year over year, in many cases, we're still down on inventory. So while demand is down, you can also see that the supply of new listings is down. So there aren't that many choices out there. So with those numbers close together, there is still a chance properties are going to get multiple offers. It's interesting to see the number of new listings in 2023, about half of where they were in 2018. So crazy low numbers. But we can see in the Altos Research Reports that inventory isn't doing what it should do this time of year. It's not behaving as it should. Multifamily numbers for Orange County, I think 2 units are larger. We get the data from the MLS. Similar to the single family data, sold, under contract, new listings. Differences here with multifamily. Mortgage interest rates hit multifamily in a different fashion than they do single family. When you're financing something that is 5 units or larger, commercial financing, you're going to have an adjustable rate mortgage. So some of the property owners who purchased before suddenly have much higher mortgage interest rates and may have to sell. The other thing is the debt coverage ratio. The properties that are commercial financing have to basically have enough income coming in to cover the cost of the mortgage plus the expenses and a little factor above that. So as interest rates have increased, it's harder to make properties pencil without putting down a huge down payment. We can see inventory down slightly. It has trended down these past few years. Demand is up slightly year over year. The other factor is the 1031 exchange deadline. We've talked about this in other videos. Normally it's a 45-day identification, 180 to close. But because of the storms we had earlier in the year, it was pushed to October 16th. We woke up and that got pushed to November 16th. So some of these folks tying up properties, it is essentially their last resort if they're going to take advantage of the 1031 exchange deadlines. So that could be an explanation why we see the slight increase in year over year in the number of properties going under contract, but still historically low numbers in Orange County for November. Orange County has remained one of the stronger spots in the Southern California market. We can see it says strong seller's market here. The median home price year over year was up significantly and has increased beyond that peak that we had in 2022, whereas some of the other counties haven't reached that peak. Inventory has remained very flat throughout the year, and it's low, not at a record low like we had in 2021, definitely off of the peaks in more traditional listing times. With this trend this flat, we'll have to see if it does start to tick up this time of year or start to go down like it historically does. Looking at the market segments, we see an interesting trend in inventory, and that is that the absorbed is matching at this quartile and below at the lowest quartile. So what it looks like, we have 21 days on market. Those properties are moving very, very quickly. But what it looks like is potentially buyers at this price point, the lower quartiles, where they're more sensitive to the increase in interest rates, maybe they're starting to give up on writing offers. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the days on market. Taking a look at properties with a price decrease, we could see that it is up, not as high as last year. And actually we had higher years in the past, including 2018 and 2019, which were more normal years. We will have to continue to track this to see if we're on the downside or some sort of peak for price reductions, or if it's going to continue to go up. The other interesting thing you can do with this data, and why we recommend you subscribe, is you can compare the different price points. So what we've determined is that things are slowing potentially in the bottom half of the market. So we're going to have to carefully track and see what happens to price decreases in those market segments. If you're enjoying this data, make sure you subscribe to the Altos Research Reports. We have a link below so you can do that. And as a bonus, you'll receive our free weekly email newsletter as well. Los Angeles, we can see numbers are down, but year over year for number of properties going under contract, that is up slightly. So there's slightly more demand this year, even though mortgage interest rates were lower this time of year in 2022. So interesting to see that. We're down in the number of new listings, not a huge drop, but slightly more of a seller's market this first 2 weeks of November than it was last year. Nowhere near what it was like in 2021, where numbers were so close together. Los Angeles following a similar trend, drop in listings over time. We can see that year over year that we have an increase in number of properties going under contract. Again, I believe related to the 1031 exchange deadlines, but we can see that historically it is still a much lower level. Tough to make a property pencil when your mortgage interest rate is this high. We also have rent stabilization ordinance in LA City where rents haven't been increased for 3 years and you still won't be able to increase them for a while. So crazy days in LA. Los Angeles, strong sellers market, but another one where we're seeing inventory start to tick up where it's supposed to be ticking down at this time. Every year by this time we had already peaked and started to go the other way. The inventory in Los Angeles appears to be ticking up. Properties with a price decrease. As we've seen the inventory go up, we're also seeing an increase in the number of properties decreasing their price. Now it isn't at the level it was at 2019. It's close and definitely not 2018, more normal markets. But you can see that it's still going up, whereas they had started to go down. So we'll have to track and see what happens as the inventory continues to go up. Will we see more properties with a price decrease in LA? Are you thinking of making a move in 2024? Don't even think about it without talking to us first. We're real estate agents based in Southern California. Riverside, interesting to see two numbers that are up year over year. We can see that the number of pending sales are up slightly year over year, but the new inventory is also up slightly year over year. So we're starting to see more properties listed in Riverside. We'll have to see if that trend continues and how that factors into what we're seeing in the Altos research data as well. Riverside, low levels of new listings, but up year over year for number of properties going under contract. Again, could be attributed to the 1031 exchange deadlines coming due. Riverside, still considered a strong seller's market, but seeing inventory tick up, you can see it's higher than 2020 and 2021, and it's trending up, whereas the other years it was trending down at this point in time. Comparing new versus absorbed, we can see the highest price point, we had fewer properties absorbed than new. So that could be where we start to see more inventory grow. And properties with a price decrease, as inventory grows, we're seeing that the properties with a price decrease, that seems to be growing as well. Not on the downside, trending down, but trending up. Not as high as last year. Similar to what we have in 2018 and 2019, which were more normal markets. San Bernardino seeing a slight drop in pending sales and a slight increase in new listings. So inventory starting to tick up when a time of year when the snow is going to start to come as well. So again, not the time of year where we typically see more listings. There's that twist in 2021 where we had more properties going under contract than we had new listings. Those were crazy days back then. San Bernardino bucking the trend from a demand standpoint, and that is down year over year at a record low level. Listings down as well, almost a record low, but nowhere near where we had the number of new listings in 2018. So kind of skimming along the bottom here for number of new listings, but demand is down in San Bernardino. San Bernardino considered a slight seller's advantage in that market. Inventory is continuing to go up. It was somewhat flat for a while, but continues to go up, whereas this time of year, as we've said before, should be going down. And you can see that's historically what happens in this neck of the woods, especially because with their weather, they're going to have snow coming. Properties with a price decrease, you can see these numbers are historically actually higher than some of the other numbers we've seen. Right now, the percentage of properties with a price decrease is somewhat similar to these more normal years here. But even back in 2020 and 2021, when the market was on fire, they still were above 20% for the number of properties at a price reduction. So that is interesting to see that the decrease is as strong as it is in San Bernardino. We'll continue to track this. Taking a look at Ventura, and they also had that twist in 2021. Number of properties going under contract versus number of new listings. We can see that new listings are up slightly year over year, but the demand is down year over year. Now, Ventura, as we always say, marches to its own drummer, has fewer properties in general for sale, so that's what leads to fewer transactions. But definitely could start to see in Ventura, start to see that inventory build up. And here we are in Ventura, always all over the place, fewest number of properties, like we say, and definitely shows up here in the multifamily data. We are up, though. We are up 100% year over year on number of properties under contract. We went from 1 to 2. So that's an interesting trend to see. Not much going on in multifamily in Ventura. Ventura County, considered a strong seller's market, inventory flat, and should be ticking down at this time of year. I mean, look at the levels of inventory as compared to 2018 and 2019. We're basically half of that inventory. Interesting to look at new versus absorbed. We can see the bottom half of the market is definitely slowing when you look at the new versus absorbed. Days on market are short, but we're seeing fewer properties being absorbed. Looking at the properties with the price decrease, you can see this chart's more jagged. Fewer sales make it more jagged. Definitely not close to where we were last year, or almost half of properties had a price reduction. But we're on our way. So 33.8, it's almost 34%. Not too different from 2018. Higher than the middle years here, but we'll have to continue to track it and see. Should be turning and going the other way, but doesn't look like it is, especially when we look at what's going on with new versus absorbed from an inventory standpoint. And San Diego have a slight dip in the number of properties going under contract year over year, but we also have a dip in the number of new listings. So it feels more like a seller's market out there if you're looking, not like 2020 and 2021, that kind of seller's market. And again, another market where you compare to 2018, the number of new listings, and we're at about a level of about half. Crazy low number of new listings, and demand appears to have hit somewhat of a floor. San Diego bucking the trends in a couple of different ways. So record low demand, it hasn't been that low in the years we're covering, and it is down for the year over year for demand. But we can see that the number of new listings, that has trended up year over year, and it looks like a pretty typical year for the number of new listings. So that's the biggest gap we've had between the properties going under contract and new listings. So this is not feeling like as much of a seller's market as you have, for example, in Orange County when it comes to multifamily. In San Diego, the sister from a different mister like Orange County has been a solid market, slightly more of a seller's market, 53 versus 52. They beat us. Inventory has been flat, again, like Orange County and some of the other counties. Should be going the other way like it has in years past. We can see new versus absorbed, that there is more inventory being absorbed. That bottom of the market, those 21 days, is moving very quickly. Now, properties with a price decrease, it is up. It's not quite where it was last year. No, none of the counties are quite where they were last year, but it definitely is up and not trending the other way like it has in some years past. And what's interesting, 2020, it continued to climb through the rest of the year and then drop. We're just going to have to see what happens through the rest of November and into December to see if inventory continues to go up, and then see how that leads to changes in prices as well. Let us know in the comments below what other holiday anomalies you're seeing out there where the market isn't behaving like it should. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and we can't wait to hear from you.